Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm here again today, joined with the beautiful Tiffany. Hi,
Hi.
Tiffany.
Hi.
And we are going to be talking about a little bit of the collective energies, things we've both been feeling the last few weeks since the American election, as well as looking at the fear programming, because the energy of fear in the collective has been very heavy, and we'll both get into that, and then sharing some exciting ways to work through and release it. So, I just want to dive right in and start. And Tiffany, who is a reflector in human design, is so tapped in and intuitive. And I always love connecting to see like what you're feeling because it always helps mirror back things that I'm noticing or maybe like sensing, but doubting or not certain about. Um, and this was a really big one because both of
Yeah.
us felt a lot leading up to the election, but then also like the morning after. And I'd love for you to share kind of some of your insights and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Leading up to the election, I think the primary energy that I was feeling was this like culmination of Pluto in Capricorn. And um, a couple of weeks ago, Spirit woke me up from a very good sleep to tell me that the people are no longer okay with hearing you need to. And it was like, it felt like such an important message coming through. Like, we're not okay with, like a top down authority telling us that we need to do something. Instead, we're becoming more in tune with what's right for our sovereign beingness and
Mhm.
moving in that direction. And so this was, just a few weeks before, not even like 10 days before the election that this message came through. Like I tried to ignore it. I tell a story on Instagram, like I try to ignore it, and Spirit was like, nope, and like said it louder and like full body chills and like woke me up finally until I sat with the message and brought through what was the intention behind it. And it really felt like that energy leaving Pluto. So Pluto's been in Capricorn, which is, these top down structures when we think of like we bailed out the banks in 2008 when Pluto moved into Capricorn when the US had their financial crisis. And
Mm,
then for the past 15 years, it's just been this run on corporate greed, really.
mhm,
And in every sense of the word, like below, like, just like really big bureaucracy,
mhm,
um, telling us what to do and telling us what's best for us and telling us like mandating things during COVID and that we knew wasn't right, didn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean natural immunity
mhm.
doesn't mean anything anymore? Like, I've had the cold and then my kids get the cold and then no one else in the family has the cold the whole rest of the season. Like, what do you mean
Yeah.
natural immunity doesn't count? So, like, little things like this, added up along the way. And then on the election, it was just like this immense pressure.
Mhm,
Um, and it really felt like then the mainstream media around the world, like you were telling me stuff that was happening in Canada. I was seeing reports out of England.
mhm.
Germany had already called Kamala as like the winner. Like everyone in Germany thought like that she had already won or something somehow. It was like all of the media was like pushing this message forward. And I was like, no, like the people are not okay with being told they need to do
Mhm,
anything at this point, let alone vote in a direction that doesn't align with their sovereignty. Doesn't matter
mhm.
how you voted, just like as long as the messaging wasn't interfering with your sovereignty to cast your vote, like that was the main thing. Like if you're sovereign and you align to her policies, great. If you're sovereign and you align to Trump's policies, great. Like you can't say
Yeah.
either way that you were influenced, right? If you were in that decision and your sovereign being.
Yeah.
And so
It's
then,
so much,
yeah.
oh, so much about being true to self. And I feel like that's what, I mean, you and I've talked about this because of the media and the manipulation in Canada too, but like, which
Mhm.
is a whole other discussion. But, but I was just watching it being like, so many people are once again being influenced because they're being told something's true and it's being pushed and like shoved down their throats on every single news station. And so that is forcing and creating this influence or this extra fear, this extra pressure. Um, and exactly as you said, like it's if you're doing this and this feels so aligned and true to you, there is no right or wrong. That's you honoring your sovereign path and what makes sense for your values and your beliefs, which is beautiful. And we all deserve to have that right. And that's what should be the true reason behind any kind of vote. Um, but when we see that there's like this intense manipulation or, yeah, adjustment of the truth and then like gaslighting and just all these
Fear-based.
fear-based to
Mhm.
keep people in that heavier constricted
Yeah.
energy where we're not thinking as clearly and we're not taking actions from our higher selves. That's where I get very frustrated because I'm like, no, that's not sovereign then.
Right. And you're here to see the patterns and see what doesn't align and say, like, nope, we need to shift that. And so I bet that
Hmm.
you were just like going crazy inside. And I'm here to feel the collective energy and say, like, well, this is not aligned to our highest and best timeline and most healthy self, most healthy version of self aligned with our higher self. Like between the two of us, we were both feeling this immense pressure. And like I was actually like sloth mode, like hermit to the sloth mode. Like I'm aligned to, so it's like just losing interest in pushing anything forward, just needing to like really rest because I feel like I was transmuting so much density. And
Mhm.
and then like the news started shifting to like words of like fascism and Hitler and like all this stuff. And like
Yeah.
then it grew so much. And I felt really, really paralyzed. and then and then the election night happened and I didn't watch too much of it. I went to bed at like 10, so very early on in it. And woke up the next day and I put my feet on the floor and I didn't reach for the phone and I just felt lighter.
Hmm.
Like immensely lighter. Like no influence from the outside world at this point. It was still just me waking up and I was like, wow, today feels really good. It feels really light. It
Hmm.
feels like we moved a lot last night.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean that I was like, oh, Kamala won or Trump won. It was like the collective shifted and we shifted timeline, we shifted energy, we shifted karma, we shifted a bunch of stuff. We shifted out of
Hmm.
that fear-based programming.
Hmm.
And I think, we were talking and you could even feel it in another country, this shift
Hmm.
between like the
Yeah.
6th, the 7th, the 8th. And then, obviously we're opening into like the 11/11 portal, which is like a huge time to manifest at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like so same thing to your point. I mean, politics aside and like leadership aside, because I do feel like there's still corruption and control and different things, but it did feel like waking up the morning after, just that there was an energetic shift of people taking their power back. And I believe those who are in their hearts and like doing this for the collective good, we are going to be able to start creating that more inclusive momentum, regardless of what the media has shown Trump to say. Because the feeling I had was like, it felt like the last 4 years, every single time I tried to make a stride towards something or had this vision or idea or was trying to make progress or bring peace on earth or create these positive forward-facing movements, that I kept hitting this extreme resistance. And this stuff would, whether it was like karmic patterns and things that needed to be cleared or literal collective energy that I was pushing up against, just felt like I couldn't ever get any forward momentum and kind of stuck in this perpetual loop. And then the doubts, the self kind of gaslighting of questioning and, yeah, not believing my intuition, looping back around, like this thing was just repeating. And when I woke up the morning after the election, it felt like all of that had lifted and I felt the freedom and like full peace in my body of like, oh, I can actually move forward now. And so many of us, light workers and heart-centered humans, are going to be able to actually ground their momentum in and ground it into the earth to build, where we couldn't do that when we were all stuck in this fear-based loop
Yeah.
before. Um, so tying it back even to, yeah, it felt for me less about who won necessarily and more about the shift that that stood for, or
Mhm.
kind of the stance that it was creating. And I'm praying and hoping that, a year or 2 years down the line, no matter who people voted for, they realize that this actually has allowed positive forward changes to help all, instead of just continuing to circulate and benefit some while the rest of us are floundering.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that because I'm reminded of this study out of, I believe it was Stanford, could be Harvard. We'll find it. Where they did an experiment into the collective consciousness, and they could tell when like big shifts were going to happen because of peaks or releases of this collective conscious energy in like the magnetic sphere. And
Mm,
and if you think about it, I mean, we had like 300 million people just in the United States who were directly impacted by this. That's a lot of people driving into a collective energy. And then you have like, like world leaders everywhere, like wondering what's going to happen. Like people, I didn't realize how much people were interested in the US election until I started seeing it on like X and like seeing my friends all over the world just saying like, oh my God, American election.
mhm.
So
Oh
clearly
man,
like
everyone.
a good portion of the world was highly attuned to what was going on.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Mhm.
say everyone around the world. I even remember too the last time Trump got elected, which I don't know what year it was, but I was in Sri Lanka working with elephants. And like, I remember people talking about it there, and like the conversations and the dynamics, and it just, American politics truly does influence so many, again, whether for good or for bad. And yeah, it's crazy when you think of the collective impact, and also just, and this is where I think humanity is so beautiful, because even the people in other countries who maybe aren't directly affected, but they just want the best for other people, whether in America or in other countries affected by America. And so it kind of does show like collective coming together, and we do all desire the
Mhm.
greater good. I believe it's just that some of us are, of us think we're aware of that. Some of us are influenced still by fear programming, and we don't even realize that that's dictating. And so
Yeah.
there's all these different levels of the spectrum.
And getting back to what you said about like not being able to drive your business forward, I think in a
Mm,
lot of ways, we're all somewhat attuned to this energy field, whether we're aware of it or not. And we have our own shit that we need to clear, our own karma that we need to clear. And then we get this, you know, massive tidal wave pressing down on us of collective
mhm,
energies and amplified, of course, and
mhm.
then also amplified with Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, which is like,
Yeah.
I need to show you that this system is crumbling and I need you to see it as loud as possible. Like, there can't be any distrust in your discernment. Like, we need to make this as
Pluto,
crazy as
Pluto.
possible so that you're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
I should probably think about this for my own opinion and level set with where I'm at
Yeah, I
on
feel like
on
Pluto
this
got
belief.
really loud.
Yeah, Play-Doh did get very loud. And so like it makes sense that we have all felt like we were in this weird dream loop for the past,
Mhm.
3.5, 4 years, not being able to move anything that we desire forward because we're just like, oh, again, we're clearing collective karma. Oh, again, here we go again, another cycle.
Yeah.
Like Pluto's been in this wave of the 29 degrees for like the majority of the past year and a half. So
Mhm.
we're going to start to feel that pressure release as it moves into Aquarius. And Aquarius really is bringing the power back to the people. And like, not to get too much into astrology, but like, as in the transits, I feel all of that happening in my
Mhm.
body. And like reflectorness, it feels it all. And it just feels like a lot. But I'm also very hopeful that there's like that we're at the ledge. Like we're at the ledge and it's gonna get just much lighter after this. Um,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of talk on like the internet right now of like Trump has a mandate from the people. The people are mandating that he
Mhm.
do better. Like, when you win the popular vote, you win the electoral college. He also like won in the governor races. Like he helped a lot of governors win against the Democratic Party. So like everything lined up to signal that it was a mandate from the people.
Mhm.
And when that type of energy is like pushing forward, pushing leadership forward, it feels much more aligned with our highest good than pushing down on us, which is what the Capricorn system was doing. So like the Aquarian
Yeah.
system is us bringing the energy into the government, and like, yeah, it feels good. Um,
Mhm.
but when I was moving into like the 1111 portal, there was this really stern reminder from spirit that like right now I think the ego is attached to like sanctimonious behavior. That's the message that came through. I had to Google it. I didn't know what sanctimonious behavior meant.
Yeah.
Just kept saying it over and over again until I got out of bed and did the research and then tuned into the channel. And our ego is our last line of defense between um a changing thought system, like a changing belief, right? So our
Mhm.
ego is going to hold on really tight. And that's where you get these like denigrative attacks on people when you can't
Yeah.
defend a belief because it's surface level indoctrination and you only have
Yeah.
talking points to keep going over. So,
Yeah.
like, the sanctimonious behavior was leading to this fear of letting go of our ego. Like, now, so like, remember during COVID, a lot of us were waking up pretty slowly and then like suddenly all at once. That same thing
Mhm.
is happening again. We're in another cycle of like a very slow waking and then everybody waking up all at once because like the dissonance
Mhm.
between their thoughts and what they're seeing is going to shatter this ego. And
Yeah.
it
It
feels like
kind of
once, go ahead.
Oh, go. You can finish.
It feels like once we do this, we can start manifesting for our personal self again.
Yeah. Totally. It's interesting because you brought up the Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn piece too with the systems. And I do feel like we saw that not only with the political side of things, but then in the last 4 years and beyond, it obviously existed before that too. But also then with the media and the level of propaganda and intensity that that has ramped up since COVID beyond to now. And it's again that whole, these different systems that are based on indoctrination or the programming and pushing the fear, and these things that are keeping people small. But as you said, when that is normal to someone and to the ego, it wants to hold on to that because it is like the safety blanket. And I would say I even saw this pattern coming up a lot in my external reality the last 6 months, even where it was like a lot of different relationships where we have very differing belief systems and very differing realities, which is fine. But I could see the frustration, the personal attacks that I was getting, the shade and shame and guilt and things that people were throwing at me because I represented more of the Aquarian out there age and I
Mhm.
wasn't a match to what their ego thinks is normal or what I need to be doing. So tying back to even your message from spirit, like, and this is very much what we saw even on the news during the political debates and all the name calling and all this stuff. It's like if people feel like someone is representing something they don't understand, then they're just grabbing onto the narrative they're being fed about it or the one quote that they're seeing clipped out of context, and
Yeah.
then their whole identity is attaching to it. And it's like, this has to be my truth because otherwise I don't know who I am without it and I feel unstable.
Hmm.
And I do think that election morning represented a mass destabilization for a lot of people. at the same time as that lifting. And even for those who felt destabilized, again, time will tell and you'll realize that it was a
Yeah.
freeing. It was like a
Yeah.
reckoning for your soul, but the ego might not understand it at the time.
No, exactly. And then, emotions or energy in motion. And so there were a
Mm,
lot of people crying and screaming um with the
yeah.
with the news of the election. And it's like, that's good. You're getting it out of your body. And then that
Mhm,
like leaves space for truth to come in. And so now a lot of those people who are screaming, I know several that have already removed posts attacking
mhm.
family members for differing beliefs, because so many of like the news sources now are like, well, why did she lose? And they started to do like analysis on it, and it's waking people up, and which is
Yeah.
so weird that the media is like
I
doing
know
that.
it's really, yes. I've been surprised. I've been watching little bits with my mom, and I'm like, wait a minute. They've spent how many months saying this one thing, and now because it didn't
Yeah,
come true and Trump won, they're looking at it, but now they're revealing those other truths
yeah,
that had never been shared on the news before of
yeah.
like, oh, even though he might have done these few things we don't agree with,
Hmm.
he represents this specific shift, or the economy was in fact better. And like these facts that then will, as you said, like almost it's alleviating more space
Hmm.
for truth and also a new grounded narrative of, again, not even needing to jump ship and go all in one way is right, one way is wrong, but just the freedom to be like, let me actually gather facts and look at this from all sides and do it more grounded instead of from the intense fear
Hmm.
that the media is telling me, which we don't think as clearly when we're in a state of
Right.
fear.
Right. You're wanting a salvation. But I
Hmm.
think like people have seen that half the country doesn't support celebrity culture. Half
Yeah.
the country is not getting their news from mainstream news. And if you're in, that half that is, you're questioning things now. You're saying, well, what are these other news sources that helped
Hmm.
Trump get so popular? Or, you know, why are celebrities endorsing one side and not the other side? And why is
Hmm.
P Diddy's entire list like at
Hmm.
the beck and call of
Yeah.
one party and not the other party?
Hmm.
You're starting to ask
I
yourself
love.
those little questions. And, we did it back in 2020. We were like, well, why doesn't natural immunity matter? And what is this? Why are masks helping when the virus
Mhm.
is so tiny it can get through the cotton? Like, you're asking these little questions, and little questions build momentum, right?
Yeah. I've been like a little conspiracy theorist since like
Hmm.
2008. I've been like,
Gosh,
what's
forever.
going on here?
Let me,
Like, it's just reading David Icke and stuff. But
yes.
like, but but it is true where it's like there it takes, and that's where I think this is again a blessing in disguise, even though it might feel destabilizing, there might be fear. I know people who are on both sides and they have fears for different reasons. So
Yeah.
again, I think that emotion is valid, but then it is realizing as well in the world that is available to us, and for those of us who have been doing energy work or looking at unconscious beliefs, you understand that those heavy emotions, such as fear and shame and guilt, are the heaviest on the vibrational scale, and they're so dense, they're so limiting. And really, what's constantly happening through each of these cycles on the planet is this opportunity for a massive purge of, let's feel this fear, let's look at it head on, let's be honest that XYZ makes me terrified, and I want to then release it and become more empowered within myself to control the things I can control,
Hmm.
fill myself up with more love and more happiness, more peace, more sovereignty, more freedom, and ultimately then keep shifting the way we want to go. Because again, we can't keep repeating the loop of just
No.
staying in a collective level of fear around the earth. Nothing will change for the better if we're doing that. And so that's where I also felt like this whole shift and energetic release I felt that morning and then leading into 11/11 was like, oh, there actually is a big lifting where now we can keep moving that way. And it is more freedom to the people to be your true self. And if people are throwing shade at you or fear at you or they don't understand it, that is theirs to deal with, but you still get to move forward honoring yourself and standing strong in your truth. And that's so empowering to see in that kind of leadership as well.
Yeah. I'm really excited for the shift going forward into December. I think that once we get through, the rest of November and Pluto really gets going,
Yeah.
and we start to see like what it really feels like to have Pluto, because I don't know that any of us were really aware of like what was going on in 2007 when Pluto was going into 2008. Like, yeah, there were
Yeah.
things in the market that were shifting, things in our environment are shifting, but like I wasn't even aware of astrology. I knew it was a Scorpio, but like I wasn't
Mhm.
aware of astrology at that point. And I think
Yeah.
it is so exciting to see like how much we've learned and how much a lot of people are now interested in this stuff. And we get to like collectively feel it together.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, because before Capricorn, it would have been in a completely different sign,
Yeah, Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. So we've got like 20 years in Aquarius, um, before it goes into the next sign. And so it is like 20 years to me, that's like 20 years of innovation and like quirkiness and
Yeah.
authenticity. And that's so liberating. And then the things that can be built in that space create a completely different foundation than, yeah, this last one that we're coming out of, where it wasn't actually supporting the true self or the true soul.
Yeah, it was supporting that 1% at the top, which is like
Yeah.
so Capricorn energy. Like they're really successful if they can get their systems down. But then the rest of us have to suffer. And so,
Mm,
yeah, it'll be great to see like the waves shift and
mhm,
and we're going to do a lot of that work in the breath work that we're doing this weekend. We're going to just, get
mhm,
rid of this fear-based programming once and for all. And we're also going to leave nuggets of peace. So if you have to sit across the Thanksgiving table in America from a cuckoo uncle that you don't agree with politically, like at least you'll have peace and sovereignty and knowing that like I voted with my authenticity and he voted with his authenticity, and that's okay. And we're
mhm.
all going to move through this together and this social experiment that is the US political system will still be here in 4 years.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just gonna say too, it's like the acknowledging that we can love and connect with people with disagreeing values, as long as there's kindness and empathy, and also the kind of feeling of like, if you have to control someone for you to feel comfortable, then that's a you problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has been amplified the last little while for those who have eyes to see it, because like that's what a lot of this represents. The celebrity endorsements, the money, the media trying to manipulate a certain story to control the narrative and therefore control the people. And the only way you feel safe is if you have that control. And we're kind of at that point where it's like, I want to be in a room with someone, and no matter what their beliefs are, if they're a genuine, kind human, then I have no issues with this person, and I don't need to control their values or their views to match mine. And I'd hope they wouldn't want to try to control me to have to fit me into that box that matches theirs. Um, and that kind of comes full circle to the breath work again as well, because we've kind of shared about that. So the breath work's going to be inside my monthly membership, and some of the members in there already this past week or two were sharing non-election related stories, but just the fact that they feel stuck and limited in their environments, or that they're being gaslit, manipulated, controlled, judged for having different values, judged for not following the normal way and
Mhm.
being different, being odd or unique. And it's that whole freedom again into the Aquarian side of we get to liberate ourselves from that control, and the breath work is going to be really supportive in doing that on the somatic level with the full body. And so whether you're currently feeling fear and the programming we've talked to today because of election stuff, or if you're feeling it in other areas of your life where you're just noticing that you have felt really controlled or stuck and you're tired of being in any kind of fear programming of like, you should do this or you need to be like that, that's what we're going to be clearing so that you can really step into that sovereignty as who you want to be.
Yeah. And also, when you're feeling like you need to control others, that's a sign of nervous system dysregulation. And breath work is one of the best things that you can do to regulate your own nervous system.
Hmm.
And the style of breath work that I lead is called somatic transformational breath work. And basically, if you think about a like a bottle of soda, I am tapping the outside and releasing all of these bubbles so that you can have your emotional release during the breath work and crack that top and finally let it all flow out and
Yeah.
release all this tension from your energy body, your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, getting that full clearing, activating all your chakras. And then I go in, after some time, when you move from a beta brainwave state, which is like a active, like we're in right
Hmm.
now, to an
Yeah.
alpha theta brainwave state, which is more receptive and hypnotic, which is what you take your clients into with your quantum healing. Once I get you there, then I fill you up with affirmations of love and support. And, those affirmations are definitely like a living, breathing gift to whatever container I'm in. So I'm not just going in every single time like, I am worthy, I am loved, I
Hmm.
deserve success. I go in with like what we're feeling. And, there is so much fear. There is so much desire to be, you know, like sovereign in accepting yourself. Like, I am worthy of love because I'm just stardust embodied in human form. And that is my birthright.
Hmm.
And that is why I'm worthy of love, not because I did all the things I needed to do and went, like you just wrote your journal post. I went to college because somebody else wanted me to go to college. But like, what do I want to do? Like, that's not why
Yeah.
you're worthy of love. You're worthy of love because you're just this beautiful, bursting like gift of stardust embodied in this beautiful human. And when I tell
Hmm.
you that when you're in a like an alpha theta brainwave state and your ego has just shut off and left the building, you're like, yeah, damn straight. I am. I
Hmm.
am. And I am in control of myself. And I'm happy with the choices that I've made. And everything's been done, from a
Hmm.
sovereign state of peace and calm. And that's okay. And life
Yeah.
is okay.
And being able to choose from a state of love moving forward. So, like, even if, because I've made many decisions from my fear programming over the
Yeah.
years, right? But being able to clear that and say that program isn't going to run my life anymore. And now I want to make the choices from the grounded, confident, empowered, self loving place. So I know actually is choosing this thing the most loving thing for me and my highest timeline and my dreams and desires? Or is it a fear because I'm trying to avoid what I don't want? Is it because I'm choosing what someone else is telling me to take? Because then that's not really loving. And so it's very much like not to add a whole other side tangent, but the fear really creates the self-abandonment. And so I think what's so beautiful about the breath work and the way you weave things is that after we clear some of that fear programming, then there is that space of it's the most honoring to self, the most loving to self to move forward from. Um, and imagine if everyone, like, this is why I love this stuff because I'm like, I want everyone to have access to that. If every single
Yeah.
human being was walking through the world connected to their heart and making the the most loving and honoring choice, the moist choice, if there was,
Please
if
don't
there,
edit this out.
we'll keep it. if they're making the most honoring and self-loving choice, the world would be so beautiful.
Oh my
Like, it would
gosh.
be so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, to like build on that, another thing that I do in the breath work is we gather the gifts from all the failures, from all the lessons that are
Mhm,
like most prime in your subconscious mind, with what we're talking about. And so it's like if you have made that choice to go off to college and like you have so much like shame around it now because you're like, oh, I just wasted time, money, like the best years of my life.
mhm,
What are the gifts that you got out of that? And also, like, can we make peace with the lessons and release the
mhm,
rest? Like, thank you. You can go now, right? And so we do
mhm,
that with a variety of different themes. And, when you leave the breathwork, you feel like you have collected gifts and clarity and wisdom and truth. And you just leave feeling so much lighter and more peaceful.
mhm. Yeah, and I think I was just reflecting on this. We met 3 years ago now, 2021.
2021, maybe
Yeah.
2022.
Beginning of 2022, so almost
Yeah.
3 years. But
Mhm.
I've done so many breath work, so much work with you, and it really is such a special gift that you have. So I'm so excited to be able to experience it because I look forward to these breath works every month, but then also to be able to share it with my audience and my community. So, for those who haven't joined the membership yet and you want to be a part of this, Tiffany and I are doing the breath work on the 17th of November. I'm looking at my calendar this Sunday. But if you see this later and you want to join, the recording is going to be there. You'll be able to listen to it and drop right in as well and still get the same benefit, even if you're listening to it later. I go back and listen to our recordings often from other sessions, and I always still receive new pieces or new nuggets. So it's like a lifelong thing that you can tap into. And the membership itself is only $33 a month to be a part of it. You also get tons of quantum healing hypnosis recordings from me, daily messages to keep you inspired and motivated and on track with your goals and just showing up as your best self each day. And then a monthly coaching call too. So there's so much in the membership. And then yeah, this Sunday, Tiffany will be here doing the Clearing the Fear programming. And then next month in December, we'll be tapping into like what is coming up the most in the collective as well as in the membership. And she'll be doing a breath work again for that. So it's like, it is like the gift that keeps giving. It just, there's just so much in there and you can always come back to it.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
definitely worth it. And you're gonna have a little library of breathworks by the end of the
Yeah.
year. So that'll be beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's so much value and there's so many different resources. And yeah, the breathworks will continue, the coaching calls will continue, everything else in the library waiting for you to dive right in. So if you're wanting access to that and you want to join us, then the link will be down below this video to jump inside. Um, we're doing, as I said, this breathwork will be Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Sunday, November 17th. And even if you can't make it live, the replay will be in there very shortly after so that you can listen to it and still get all the amazing benefits.
Yes.
Clear that out. And it really will be just that liberation because again, you and I, Tiffany, both felt that huge weightlifting after. And like I said before, I know people who felt the same and I know people who felt the opposite. And then it really did bring up more fear for them. And so this will be supportive regardless of where people are at because we all have these different layers of fear or the control paradigm or just that even that lack of trust for self because we keep thinking the outside noise is more important. And so being able to
Yeah.
release that and be able to hear your own higher self and your own inner guidance will be huge.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you could talk about that. The experience when in the breath work, you get to a point where your body naturally produces DMT, and people say they've met God there.
Hmm. Yeah, I meet God all the time.
I know, but like it's a little trick to meeting him in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's such a beautiful because it is very transcendental and
Mhm.
I would say even like my first experiences with breath work were surprising that way. So for people who are new to it, it's just like such a deep sense of relaxation and calm and the higher level connection that can come through, whether it is from your multidimensional self and those higher aspects of you and your soul, or from God consciousness, the creator, whatever name you want to call it, the universe. Just for me, with breath work and with quantum healing, which is why they're parts of my daily routine for years now, is just that it feels like that loving, warm embrace
Mhm.
from the creator where you no matter what has just come up or no matter what you're navigating or working through, you feel so safe and held. And again, for your nervous system, that's one of the greatest things we can give ourselves to start to feel more of that each day. Um, so that you can continue cultivating and creating that as your new normal too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
you get to feel good in your body after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we all came here for. I believe Pluto in
Yes.
Aquarius is going to start bringing more of that through too, and just really embracing your unique and authentic self, feeling safe to be that. And yeah, this breath work will help catalyze that. So the link will be down below. I look forward to seeing you in there. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here and joining
Thanks for
me
having
today.
me. Yes, absolutely. I'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. I'll see everybody on Sunday, but I will definitely see
Yeah.
you on Sunday.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you'll see me there. I'll be
I
there.
know. I know. You get to
Um,
receive, so that's nice.
yeah, yeah. But thank you guys. I will see you again soon. See you inside the membership on Sunday. Sending lots of love, and we'll talk later.